traders, this is Blake Morrow. You are listening to the Morning Edge webinar. I want to welcome you all back. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and get started and get through our majors here. This one is from yesterday. I don't need that. Okay. I had to save that one from yesterday. Okay, let's go to the euro dollar. So the euro dollar is bouncing a little bit off the 618. So we got two really key levels of support. I think we were looking at this chart a little earlier. It's real simple, in my opinion. Today's lows, which is 108.34, or 18. I don't know what 33 is the low, but that is that 618. Obviously, very important. I actually think that's probably going to be pretty key support today. Period. The reason why I say that is because this upward sloping trend line that you see here, probably by the time we test it, it's going to get to a point where we get there. But I may be wrong. I mean, we could just turn lower and break through that support and then test this low to really give it that good old test right there. That could happen, obviously. So I'm going to have to write, and plus we got that breakout point right here. So I don't have to write down 108, but we have 108.30 and 108. I mean, those are really two levels of support. 1.08, 1.0830. Okay. Those are our two levels of support for the euro dollar. Now, resistance is going to be back at 109. You're going to get a lot of people that are long the euro, from up here, that are going to be happy to see the euro back at 109 to be a seller, because they're going to go, oh, thank God we're back up there and I'm going to get out of it. So if we get up to 109, what is that, 109.10? Spike low there, 109.10. That's going to be a good place to sell. And if we get there today, I'm selling it. So just letting you guys know. So if we make it to 109.10, I am going to short it. We are in a range environment still, so nothing's really changed there. Okay, let's go take a look at the cable. So here's the pound dollar. Now the pound, we had this 4-hour chart yesterday. This is why we shorted it. So I don't. If you guys were not on the Lunch Money webinar, we had a shooting star on a 4-hour chart. It was closing in 10 minutes on the Lunch Money webinar, and I said I'm shorting it. So I shorted it 149.40, or forget what price it was. And then when we hit this breakout point, I closed it. So it was a real quick, 65 pip move or something, 70 pip move. Got out. Now, obviously things are volatile now, so let me remove that. Let's kind of revisit what's happening now. Let's remove this. Let's remove this line. Let's remove this line. And let's remove that line, because that was more of a resistance that we were dealing with earlier in the last week. Okay. So now, remember, we had a services PMI beat out of the UK earlier today, so that probably is a one of the reasonings why we're getting a reasonings. That's one of the reasons why we're getting a bounce in the cable. We were down at 148.28. That bounce back has probably a lot to do with the PMI. Nice recovery in the euro, in the euro dollar from the 108.30s. So I guess the question is, where does the cable go from here? It's choppy, man. Really choppy. Been pretty reluctant to, and it's been very difficult for me to take positions on in the cable myself. So yesterday was the first time I I think I've traded the pound dollar in quite some time. Might have been a week or two. So anyway, the 618 held. Okay, so that's obviously key support today. 148.25. Okay, resistance. So let me think for a second here. I'm going to tell you guys, if I get an opportunity to sell here at 149.50, I'm going to do it. If that happens, 127% extension, 786 retracement. That comes in at 149.50 basically. We are in a range environment. Give me 1 second. Okay. Let's go over to the Swissy. The Swissy. So the Swissies had a hell of a recovery too. Let me get rid of this really quick. That had more to do with an ABCD we were looking at. Okay, it had a heck of a recovery too. One of the things about the Swissy is that that we have to think about is that the Swissy is recovering. A lot of it has to do with Greece vowing to make its payment. So everybody's like, okay, well, I don't need to own Swiss francs as much as I did, just in case. We might have an inverted head and shoulder pattern here, in this, downtrend. I mean, it looks like this. You can see it. Shoulder, head, shoulder. Okay, but the way I'm looking at this currency pair right now, I don't know if I really want to trade it in that fashion. Probably what I'm gonna do with it, and I'm not doing anything with it at the moment, because I'm still a little concerned with this week. I know the Greeks say that they're gonna make payment to the IMF, but I like to see it happen. You know what I mean? I really would. Um, but I will tell you this. Later on this week, especially if the euro breaks below 108, I mean, we have this double bottom here. If we break through these highs, then our measured move takes us back up towards here. So, that's possible. Okay, so for today, see that spike there? Right there? Support, resistance, spike high, 618, comes in at 96.50. Seems like pretty solid resistance too at 96.50. Stand by 1 second, guys. All right. Gonna blow my nose. So 96.50 is the resistance, support. I mean, we are sitting on support right now, but I don't want to write down that as support. Um, so our 618 comes right down here at 94, 95.40. See that breakout point right there? See that? So that seems doable on a day like today. It's so choppy. 95.40. Okay. Dollar yen. Dollar yen, we covered it for the most part, but we'll recognize that spike high right there. 120, 120.05 resistance. This 120 level is also a 786. So just really pretty key resistance up here. Support's going to be back down at 119.70 today. Okay. Let's go over to the dollar Canadian. Hold on, that euro is getting kind of bid over here, so I'm going to put in a sell order. If we can get up to 109.10, I'm going to be a seller. I have an order out. I just put an order out to get short if we make it. Okay, dollar Canadian. Let's go over to the dollar Canadian. So we haven't seen much of a rally here. I picked up the dollar Canadian yesterday at 124.50, and I sold it at like 80 something. It was like a 30 pip gain. It wasn't anything, to write home about. What's really surprising is that we have not seen much of a move higher. I want to show you guys something really quick though regarding the Canadian. It's not regarding the Canadian in particular, but it's crude oil. Okay. A lot of traders were chasing crude oil yesterday. Okay. This is the channel that I see. So just so you guys know. Okay, let me remove that. All I did is I connected the lows, all the lows on the lower end of crude, and then I took that and matched it across the highs, and I said, wait a second, there's your lows, there's your highs, and yesterday, this is a 4-hour chart. So yesterday we were right here, and I tweeted out the chart, and I said and this is where you don't have to be in the Wise Trade, a Wise Trade member. I try to throw out some pretty good, stuff for you all from time to time. And yesterday I'm like, hey, there's a lot of people chasing crude oil at this point. Be careful as we come right up into that resistance. It's stalled there. Now, this is really key because if we do break above this high here in crude, the risk is that we test $54. So if we break through 52, 50, we might come up and break 54. If that happens, then that means the dollar Canadian probably is breaking through this support. So what I'm going to tell you right now is if crude oil breaks to the upside, I'm shorting the dollar Canadian. Everybody with me? Everybody understand that concept? Watch crude. If crude breaks out, I'm shorting the dollar Canadian. There's not a whole lot of, I'm not going to question that trade a whole lot. Okay? Now, if crude backs away from that, from those highs, if crude does that, which it could very well do, you gotta look at this dollar Canadian. This dollar Canadian, could be a nice long. Okay, 125 is capping it right now, and I think traders are probably just waiting on what's happening with crude. 124.30, 125, and then obviously 124, and then 123.50. But we'll just mark these for right now. 124, 124.30, and then 125. I think the Canadian's ready to break out. I just don't know which direction it's going to break out. That's the trick, So yeah, I don't know which way it's going to break. Okay, let's go over to the Kiwi. So here's the Kiwi. Now, the Kiwi dollar, it's being supported. This is the support we wrote down yesterday, was at 75. It's being supported strictly because of the Aussie. The Aussie is helping it stay elevated. So that is I mean, the levels are still the same from yesterday. We had 76.30 and 75. Like I said, I shorted the Kiwi yesterday at like 76.10 or something, and I made a quick 60 pips or whatever it was, wherever it was yesterday through here. And when we got to when we spiked down, we immediately spiked back to 60. So when we spiked down here, I covered it, and then we bounced right back. But you can see we're really defining the Kiwi as far as resistance and support goes. So resistance here is 76, 76.30. Support might even be shy of 75 cents now. I may have been off a little bit as far as my calculations where it was at. So, and it's probably more of this wedge that you see here. And, I originally thought it would be down here where those lows are at, or those highs, excuse me, but it's actually right here. So 75.15, 76.30. Okay, and let's go over to the Aussie. So the Aussie obviously bounced because of the the RBA about not cutting. And like I said, I thought it was, people thought the chances of an RBA cut was more, like, a higher probability that they would cut. I didn't buy that. And like I said yesterday, I think it's about a 50% chance. And the reason, I covered my Aussie dollar yesterday is because I was like, I don't want that much Aussie exposure short. I already closed out part of my Aussie yen, so I closed out all my Aussie dollar short and maintained some of my Aussie yen, but I just didn't want the Aussie exposure through the RBA. Now, the interesting thing is the Aussie spiked higher through its 38% retracement, through its resistance, okay? But we're already starting to show signs of weakness. And I'll tell you guys, if we can't close above 77 cents, the Aussie's probably going to be somewhat of a disappointment like the euro dollar has been. All right. Just because the Aussie is rallying right now doesn't mean that the Aussie is out of the woods. It doesn't. The RBA left the door wide open for a cut, right? So we're seeing a near-term recovery right now. Doesn't mean that's going to last. Okay. So anyway, we're probably dealing with a channel that looks similar to this, but I'm gonna watch it closely because if equity markets can't equity markets can't break yesterday's highs, we get another turnaround Tuesday just like we did last week. It's gonna pull the Aussie and these yen pairs right back down again. Um, so anyway, the resistance right now is going to be 77 cents. It's very, very key resistance. I know we've been above it, but that, in my opinion, is going to determine whether the Aussie stays bid or not. So 77 cents is, to me, is a big deal. Okay. Can we rally all the way to 77.30? Sure. To a 50% retracement of this last down move? Absolutely. But it's 77 cents is going to be key for today. Bulls are going to want to, get that Aussie back up there above 77 cents if possible. Where's support? Well, if we start to fall, we start to show failure. It's probably going to be, this is where the RBA move started. And by the way, I heard, and Witt, he put an article in our chat room from ABC News. Is it ABC News? That was from ABC.net, Australian news, about the Aussie dollar moved about 8 minutes before the RBA decision. I was asleep when that happened, but so that move happened. I mean, you can see it clearly. That was a minute. The news wasn't out for 2 minutes. Or actually, the news came out here. So that move happened way before the news. So obviously there was a leak, and somebody's gonna have to pay the piper for that one. Shady Australian people. I'm just kidding. I love Australia. It's definitely my favorite country to visit. Even more so than Greece. I love Australia. I think it's great. But anyway, so watch the Aussie dollar. We've seen a lot of these meetings and high impact events retrace completely. So 76.15 would be support. All right. It was 8 seconds, Kelvin says. It was 8 seconds. Oh, okay. Some of you guys are listening. It says 8 seconds. All right, 8 seconds. Looking at the chart. So again, yeah, I guess it moved on 29. Yeah, so 8 seconds. Crazy. Well, there was a leak. It was leaked. The Aussies are following in the same steps as the The Canadians. We always joke about that. The Canadian leaks. All right, guys. When I come back, we'll do the dollar index. We'll do some of these Nordic currencies too, because I don't know if you guys have seen like the Swedish krona and the Norwegian krona. They're up significantly. Swedish krona's industrial production numbers were crap. And the Norwegian krona, I don't know why it's up so aggressively, but it is. And so we should look at those. And oh, by the way, what did I want to ask you? How many of you guys, did any of you guys buy the US dollar Mexican peso yesterday? Did anyone buy that yesterday? The peso? We had a great trade on the peso. Well, I'm going to take that back. I didn't trade the peso. I know a lot of people that did. Um, Yesterday during the Lunch Money webinar, we had this right here, real big hammer, false breakdown on the peso. We were looking at this Gartley pattern, and then all of a sudden it went bang, and I know a lot of people, did pretty well with it in our chat room. And I don't trade the peso, but that was a real nice setup. Anyway, we'll come back and look at all that stuff when we come back. Don't go anywhere. I'll be back in a few moments. Alrighty, traders, this is Blake Morrow. You were listening to the Morning Edge webinar. I want to welcome you all back. So we got to finish up with the dollar index. So the dollar index was pretty outstanding yesterday as far as what it did. We were, yesterday, let's go back to, yesterday we were right here. And we were looking for support at 96.30, 96.40, okay? And a resistance at 97. So we came down, we tested support, we broke below it just slightly, and then the squeeze, just like the stock market squeezed higher, the dollar started to squeeze higher yesterday, and then we squeezed past 97, and then obviously to where we're at right now. Pretty amazing moves from the dollar, all in all. I think that move caught a lot of traders off guard. I don't think it, just like the stock market, the squeeze in the stock market yesterday caught a lot of traders off guard. I don't think many people were expecting the dollar to start squeezing like it did. So it obviously it did, and it did pretty efficiently. So the question is, where's support today? So now if you think about where the dollar's at right now, this is going to be pretty key. Let me go the other direction here. It's going to be pretty key support on the way back down. I think anybody who's short the dollar at the moment is probably like, if it'll come back down here, I'd like to cover, because they're probably realizing I don't really want to be short the dollar at this moment. And unless it's, like I said, the dollar yen's a little different, but even the dollar yen's starting to go up too. But anybody who is probably looking at it on the long side is probably a little nervous here, because we're now starting to approach some resistance. Okay, so whoops, let me go ahead and do this. So let's figure out where. So the 618 has capped us thus far. Okay, the 618 in the dollar index, and that comes in at 97.75. Support's going to be back down here at 97. Yeah, resistance going to be 97.75. Probably as we get there, it's going to intersect with this downtrend line. So, let's write down those numbers: 97 and 97.75. Oh, the dollar yen's trying to break out. Ah, damn it. It'll piss me off. Okay, let me go take a look at this dollar yen. So be careful with this. See, we're pressing that downtrend line. My cost average is at 120.34. We're at a 50% retracement. Damn, this dollar is strong, guys. I mean, look at the euro. We're slumping back towards lows right now in the euro dollar. I mean, this is pure dollar strength coming through the market. It's not the dollar yen or anything like that. It's just dollar strength coming through. Cable slumping again. The Aussie's only up 66 pips. It's dropped 40 pips since we've been sitting here. Hold on really quick. Dollar Canadian new high. Oh, look at that. What? Dollar Canadian's breaking out. Oh my God, the euro's going to hit new highs. Or the euro's going to hit new lows. Dollar Canadian's ripping right now. What the hell is going on here? What? Squeeze me. Look at that. All right, you know what I'm going to do? I was thinking I was going to do something, but maybe not. Let's watch this euro dollar really quick. If you want to buy the euro dollar, this probably isn't a bad time to do it as we approach this support. Oh man, that euro pound just got demolished. Still. Hmm. That was some pretty intense dollar strength that just came through out of nowhere. Yeah, like I said, if you want to play the euro long down here, probably not a bad place, to play back to 109. Because it looks like the dollar Canadian just squeezed. That's all that was. That was just to take out stops, right? That's all that was. Crazy. Look at that. Whoop. Ah, we took out the stop. Right back down again. Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Very whippy moves right now. Whippy. Whipping through the market. Not too sure what all of this is happening here or why it's all happening. Let's go over the Kiwi. What's the Kiwi doing? Oh wow. Kiwi is basically sitting on support here. Pretty wild, guys. Um, Russia to offer Greece new loans, gas price discount. Is that what's moving the euro? Hmm. Don't know what to do here. I mean, I think what I'm probably most surprised about is this Aussie dollar is just giving it all back too. Let's go over to the Aussie really quick here. I mean, look at that. Um, I might actually have to get long the Aussie here. Oh, it sounds crazy, but I'm gonna get long some Aussie at 43. Just a little bit. I just bought a little bit at 43. I'm gonna put my stops below 25. Okay. Yeah, I just took a small position. I'm going to try to play the Scarly here. We'll see if it bounces. Okay. I'm going to go over to your question. I know there's a lot of questions that have come in from earlier. Patrick, I'm glad, boy, you were motivated.